Coming up on the show, the Indian government says Tesla is no longer interested in manufacturing in India. Tonight we ask, why did Tesla ditch India? Why did Musk back out? Is this because of policies or the politics? This is TKC World, where we make sense of the global events with straight facts and sharp analysis. Also on the show, we decode why is India's ties with Russia and BRICS upsetting the United States of America. Meanwhile, South Korea votes for the snap election. We discuss three ways how South Korea's elections could reshape Asia's power balance. And finally, we will tell you the inside story of Trump's controversial plan to drill millions of acres in Alaska. All this is lined up. Let's begin. First, Elon Musk was very keen to manufacture Teslas here in India. But now the Indian government says Tesla is no longer interested. The question is, what changed? Why did Tesla suddenly pull back from India's EV manufacturing dream? Is it because of India's policies? Or is Musk looking somewhere else? What does this mean for India's big push to become an EV hub? And most importantly, does this signal something bigger about Tesla's global strategy? So many questions. Let's answer all these questions one by one, starting with understanding the whole matter first. India's Heavy Industries Minister H.D. Kumaraswamy just confirmed what many have been suspecting for quite long now, that Tesla has decided not to set up a manufacturing plant in India. Instead, the company plans to open just 2 showrooms selling imported models. Just 2. And this despite India announcing a new electric vehicle policy offering significant incentives to attract global car makers to India. For context, this marks a major shift. Just last year, Musk was publicly saying that he was trying to figure out the right time to invest in India. He even met Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Washington, D.C., praising India's tech potential and promising future collaboration. So what went wrong? You see, Tesla's flirtation with India is not new. It began years ago but hit roadblocks when the Indian government asked Tesla to manufacture locally, manufacture here in India. Musk wanted to test demand first by exporting cars to India. But India pushed back saying, if you are serious, build here. And that standoff paused everything in 2022. Then in 2023, India changed its stance, offering a big tax break. Under the new policy, foreign EV manufacturers could import cars at just a 15% duty instead of usual 70% if they committed to investing $500 million in starting production in India within the next 3 years. This policy was seen as a tailor-made for Tesla, and yet according to Kumaraswamy, Tesla joined the first round of talks but did not show up for the second or third. So why is Tesla no longer interested in manufacturing in India? Here are 4 main reasons. Number 1, the Indian EV market is still very naive, very small. That's less than 3% of all car sales. Tesla's cars are expensive and Indian buyers are price sensitive. Local EVs like those from Tata Motors and MG cost half as much. Second reason, infrastructural challenges. India lacks the robust charging networks Tesla is used to of the same networks in the United States of Europe. Road conditions, service transport, and electricity access in rural areas are also concerns. Number 3, global distractions. Tesla is facing growing competition from Chinese brands like BYD. Its global sales dropped to a 3-year low this quarter, plus Musk has been dealing with political backlash due to his alignment with the Trump administration, a role that he has stepped back from last week. And a 4th reason, Trump comes into the picture. Some even speculate that the United States policy played a critical role here. Earlier this year, Trump warned it would be unfair for Tesla to build factories in countries like India. While that's not official policy, it could have spooked Musk into holding back. So what does this mean for India and India's EV sector? That is also an important question to answer. Tesla's decision is a setback, no doubt in that. But it is not the end of the road. Other major automakers including Mercedes-Benz, Hyundai, Kia and Skoda Volkswagen are interested in India's EV plan. And domestically, Tata Motors continue to dominate the EV wave in India with MG Motors close behind. India is still betting big on EV, and Tesla's absence might just create more space for homegrown innovation. The bottom line here is that Tesla may have backed out, but India's EV journey has just begun. It is just a beginning. Whether this was a missed opportunity for Tesla or a strategic smart pause, that depends on how the market evolves itself from here. In the end, Musk may have hit the brakes, but India's electric dream is still charging ahead. First, the US says India is a strategic partner. Then one of its top officials publicly complains about India's choices. So what it really is? Why does buying weapons from Russia annoy Washington so much? Why does India's membership in BRICS feel so threatening to America? And most importantly, is this a case of strategic independence or just another geopolitical confusion? Let's break it all down because it is a very important topic to discuss about. This week, US Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick made headlines when he said something that sounded more like a complaint than a diplomatic statement or diplomacy. Speaking at a US-India Strategic Partnership Forum in Washington, D.C., Lutnick openly said that India's purchase of Russian arms and its membership in the BRICS grouping, quote-unquote, get under the skin of America. Let me quote his exact words to you. That's not the way to make friends. And he wasn't done there. He also took a dig at BRICS, saying the bloc's supposed move to quote-unquote not support the dollar doesn't help India's case with the US. That is what he has to say. Now, this isn't just a one-off comment. It reveals something very deeper. Let's start with India's defense partnership with Russia. Now, for decades and decades, India has sourced the bulk of its military equipment directly from Moscow. You're wondering why? Because during the Cold War, when India needed support, the United States had aligned itself with Pakistan. Washington provided Islamabad with arms, with aid, and with military backing, especially during the 1971 Indo-Pak War. So India turned to Soviet Union, leading to a defense partnership that spanned MiG-21s, T-55 tanks, and a diplomatic lifeline when India needed it the most. And the legacy of that partnership still lingers. Even today, around 36% of India's arms imports come directly from Russia, down from 76 in 2009, but still a significant percentage. Now, here is the twist. India has also been steadily reducing its dependence. In recent years, it bought weapons from systems from US, France, and Israel, from the P-81 Martin aircraft to Apache helicopter. American defense firms have been hugely, enormously benefited from this diversification of India's defense purchases. But there is a catch. Unlike Russia, the US often imposes strict conditions on how exported weapons can be used. Let me give you a classic example of F-16 deal with the Pakistan, where Washington dictated how and where Islamabad could operate them. That's exactly the kind of control India wants to avoid. It wants strategic autonomy, not strings attached. So when Lutnick says India buying from Russia quote-unquote get under America's skin, it's worth asking, is the issue really about who sells what or about who controls whom? Now let's move to BRICS. Lutnick sees India's partnership in BRICS bloc as a problem because of the bloc's supposed aim to challenge dollar dominance. He views that as an unfriendly move towards America by India. But here is what often misunderstood, something that is ignored. India has never endorsed any formal move to replace the dollar. In fact, India's Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar recently said that the dollar remains central to global stability and India has no policy at all to undermine it. What India does want, though, is a more balanced world order, one where the global south has a voice and where global institutions aren't dominated by just a few countries. And BRICS gives India a platform to do exactly that. And interestingly, India often acts as a counterweight to China within BRICS itself. It has repeatedly pushed back on Beijing's Belt and Road ambiguous ambitions and made sure BRICS doesn't become China's playground. So staying in BRICS actually serves everybody's interest, everybody's agenda, including America's, by preventing China from dominating it entirely. Bottom line is, Lutnick's frustration may reflect a deeper American discomfort from India's strategic independence. Washington wants a partner, not a player. But India, now more than ever, is choosing to be a player, not just a partner who sits by. And maybe that's the real story here. South Korea just voted in a snap presidential election, and the result could quietly shift the balance of power in Asia. Because the man most likely to win, the liberal candidate, Leejaemyung, doesn't just bring a different style of leadership, he brings a different worldview altogether. From South Korea's position between Washington and Beijing to its approach to deal with North Korea, this election could gently but significantly reshape Asia's strategic map in more than just one ways. According to exit polls and early reports, Myung is poised to win the presidency. He is a liberal politician who narrowly lost to conservative Yoon in the 2022 race, and now he's making a comeback, I should say a strong comeback, at a time when South Korea stands at a geopolitical crossroads. Why? Why does this matter? Because South Korea isn't just any other country, it is a key US ally, home to 28,500 American troops and deeply tied into US-Japan security partnership. But under Lee, that alignment might start to look different. Lee has previously criticized South Korea's tight alignment with the US, especially under former President Yoon. While he has since softened his stance, promising to maintain ties with Washington, with the United States, he has also made it very clear that South Korea should avoid being dragged into great power rivalries, especially a potential China-Taiwan conflict. Translation: we could see a more neutral South Korea, still close to the US, but more cautious about which side it is picking. That's a big shift from the pro-US, pro-Japan direction under Yoon. Let's talk about Lee's approach towards North Korea, its neighbor. Yoon has taken a hardline stance against Pyongyang, ramping up military drills with the US and calling for tougher sanctions on North Korea. Lee, on the other hand, wants dialogue. He signaled support for restarting talks with North Korea and believes diplomacy, not confrontation, is a better path to solve any conflict. That's a policy Washington may view with mixed feeling, especially under a second Trump administration. One of Yoon's major foreign policy win was rebuilding ties with Japan and cementing the US, Japan, South Korea trilateral alliance. This was crucial for Washington, especially in countering threats coming in directly from China and North Korea. Lee has been more skeptical on this. He opposed past attempts to reapproachment with Tokyo and may not be as enthusiastic about trilateral military drills. Though he now says he will support cooperation with both countries, the tone and trust will definitely change. All of this comes at a sensitive time. US President Donald Trump is in the spotlight again for bringing in his tariffs, pressuring on defense spending, and unpredictable democracy that comes along with him. If Lee takes a more independent path, this could lead to tensions with Trump, especially if Trump repeats past demands that South Korea pay more for hosting American troops in their country. Now, South Korea's new president may not trigger an overnight transformation, that is not even possible, but over time, his policies could reshape the regional alliances, regional attitude, and approaches towards the power. And it will be interesting to see how this unfolds. Imagine one of the last truly untouched wilderness in America. And now imagine oil rigs, drilling equipments, and pipelines carving through that same land. That's exactly what could be coming next as the Trump administration rolls out a major policy shift in Alaska. The Trump administration has just proposed rolling back Biden-era protections on over 13 million acres of land in Alaska's National Petroleum Reserve, an area once safeguarded from oil and gas leasing. But why does this matter so much? And what's really at stake? Let's break it down. This vast icy stretch of land, over 23 million acres, was originally set aside in 1923 as an emergency oil supply for the US Navy. It's known as the NPRA, and it's the largest tract of undisrupted public land in the country. Over the years, especially since the 1970s, parts of it were opened up for commercial oil development, but in 2023, the Biden administration locked down over 10.6 million acres to protect wildlife habitat, including polar bears, caribou, and the traditional land of indigenous communities in Alaska. Now, in a major reversal, President Trump's team says those protections went too far. The new proposal, would cancel Biden's restrictions and reopen these millions of acres for drilling and mining. Interior Secretary Doug Burgum said Congress was clear. This land was meant for energy security, not for locking up resources. According to the administration, the Trump administration, it's about boosting domestic energy production and reducing America's reliance on foreign energy. But environmental groups have raised their own concerns, and they might be right in this case. Trump's decision to open up Alaska for mining reignites the old age debate: jobs and energy security versus climate and conservation. Supporters argue this could create thousands and thousands of jobs and help the US become more energy independent, reducing the dependency on other countries. Critics, however, warn it could destroy fragile ecosystems and worsen climate change. They also say it threatens the way of life of Alaska's indigenous communities. Let's not forget, Alaska's North Slope only accounts for about 3% of US oil production. So is this really about energy security, or is it politics? The new policy isn't law just yet. It's a proposal. That means lawsuits, lobbying, and months of public debate lie ahead. And with Trump making bold energy moves while also facing legal challenges on its major decisions, be it tariffs or immigration, this decision could become a major climate flashpoint in his second presidency. The choice between drilling and protection: the planet isn't new. Drilling and protecting of the planet, this is not new. But Alaska may now be the place where that battle plays out in the most dramatic manner. And that's all I have for you on the show tonight, dear viewers. I will see you tomorrow. Until then, take care and good night.